Fashion is evolving, and eBay is perfectly positioned to support this evolution. I'm Charis Marquez, and I'm here with Corella, who's the General Manager of Apparel and Health and Beauty for eBay. And I'm the Vice President of Global Fashion here at eBay. And we are so excited to talk to you about the trends in broader fashion, along with what's happening at eBay. Today we'll talk about the state of fashion more broadly, the 2022 trends within eBay for apparel. We'll talk about pre-loved apparel, and we'll also talk about the tips to succeed for your business within the apparel market. So a huge thank you to you. You delivered 43 million apparel items, and you grew 10%. You grew our business 10% in our average selling price. So not only did you sell a ton of items, but you sold them for a higher selling price. So we thank you for your business, and we incredibly thank you for a wonderful year. Now I'm going to move on to talk about the 2022 state of fashion more broadly. So what happened in fashion more broadly? There were new opportunities. There's this concept of back to hybrid work. What am I wearing? Do I still need my sweatpants? Do I need a pair of jeans? Do I need a suit? How are we going to dress in this hybrid world? There's also a trend that we're seeing around slow fashion being the new black. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is this concept of fast fashion, I want the latest thing, I want it to be cheap, and I want it right now, is changing. We're seeing people want to buy timeless pieces that will last in their wardrobe forever, that they can take care of. And finally, we talked about pre-loved fashion last year, but it is even bigger now, and it's on the rise. And for those of you that are not familiar with pre-loved fashion is essentially anything that has been used or worn before, and we'll talk more about that as well. So here's a few statistics that support the things that are happening within the state of fashion. So 48% of people say that they need a work wardrobe update because of their pre-pandemic clothes feel out of date. And I know I am one of those people who feels like my clothes are way out of date and could use a new wardrobe. There are 52% of US consumers, they're giving up on fast fashion. So again, moving to this slow fashion where they want things that are timeless. And in terms of our average selling price going up, US online fashion resale spending will more than double by 2025. So we continue to see the trends that we saw here at eBay. Now we're going to talk more about specifically some of the trends that we're seeing on eBay, and I'm going to pass it over to Mari to talk about those trends, and most importantly, the tips for you to leverage these trends to grow your business.
Thank you. I'm Corella, the General Manager of Apparel here at eBay. But I've also been selling apparel on eBay for over 20 years, so I'm especially excited to talk to you today about how the industry-wide changes are impacting eBay and how you can leverage those to build your business. So as Charis mentioned, many of us are going back to office. So we're seeing a rise in office-type clothing, such as dresses, suits and blazers, and sweaters being on the rise. Now, what we're seeing a decline in are those cozy, comfortable items that we wore when we were working from home, such as leggings, activewear, and sleepwear. And that's not to say that those categories aren't important. They're still very relevant for holiday, as cozy items such as slippers and pajamas are great giftable items. When it comes to brands, we are seeing a rise in those timeless and durable brands. Consumers are looking to buy items that not only last for just one season, but perhaps an entire decade. So we're seeing a rise in brands such as Patagonia, Arc'teryx, and Carhartt. These are brands that are known for outdoor and workwear, but they're not being worn exclusively for that reason. They're being worn as everyday wear. In addition, a lot of these items, a lot of these brands have really great quality to them, and they'll take back items to do free repairs regardless of where you bought them from. And that makes eBay a great destination for consumers to get these great brands at an incredible value. In addition, we're seeing brands that have been around for decades, such as Burberry, Lilly Pulitzer, and Birkenstock. We're seeing a rise in those. Think about it, a Birkenstock that looks exactly the same today as it did 50 years ago. And most likely, it's gonna look the same in another 50 years. So consumers feel confident buying these items knowing that they're gonna be in style for many years to come. And we're also seeing what we're calling elevated casual. So these are brands like Anthropologie, Ralph Lauren, and J. Crew. Brands that are nice enough to be worn to the office, but can also double for a Sunday brunch. And while brands are the most searched keywords on our site, our team analyzed the top 5,000 keywords to come up with other trends that they're seeing in the market. We're continuing to see a rise in vintage. eBay is such an amazing destination for vintage, particularly t-shirts, dresses, and sweatshirts. Contemporary brands such as Nike, Levi's, and Gucci. Consumers want the unique items at a great value, so they're searching out these vintage pieces on eBay. In addition, consumers are feeling nostalgic. They're seeking out Disney, anime, Star Wars, vintage characters on their clothing. And when it comes to the decades, 1950s is the most searched term on when it comes to the decades for eBay clothing, followed by 1940s and 1930s. And you see that in trends such as vintage Hawaiian shirts and vintage bomber jackets. And when it comes to band tees continue to be a hot commodity. We're particularly seeing a rise in 90s band tees. So think about Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. In fact, I was recently at my mom's house cleaning out my high school closet. I came across a stash of Smashing Pumpkin shirts. No joke, some of them were selling for more than $500 on eBay. So if you see those, definitely grab them. We're also continuing to see a rise in cowboy and Western search terms. We know that a lot of our consumers are buying this for utilitarian reason, but we tend to see these terms also paired with vintage. So for example, vintage Western shirt or vintage cowboy boots. So we know that this is also a style trend. So switching gears a little bit, we're gonna talk more about ReCommerce. So ReCommerce is definitely booming and eBay is the place for it. Last year we sold over 22 million items of pre-loved fashion. In addition, consumers are willing to pay more for these items. We saw a 10% increase in average selling price for our pre-loved items on our site. So for those of you who participate in this already, it's a good time to review and revise your pricing. When consumers were asked which resale platforms they were most familiar with when it comes to online fashion, eBay ranked #1. So this is really fantastic because as consumers are more willing to buy pre-loved merchandise, eBay is going to be the destination that they go to. In addition, for consumers already participating in this space, eBay continues to be the top destination for them to buy secondhand fashion. And we will continue to be the top player in this space. eBay is invested in a company-wide goal of avoiding 7 million metric tons of carbon by 2025, and ReCommerce Apparel plays really well into that goal. We're also looking into ways of making it easier for consumers to list and buy pre-loved fashion on our site. So we're streamlining our listing flow. We're looking at our item specifics so that it is faster for you to list your items and easier for consumers to find them. And we know that consumers are participating in buying pre-loved apparel for a number of different reasons. This can be for value, affordability, and sustainability. And we'll make sure that our marketing speaks to all of that. So I'm sure many of you are now interested in knowing, how can I participate? How can I start selling pre-loved apparel? Well, this is a great area to get into. There is over $430 billion of merchandise sitting unworn and yet not online. $2 billion of that is coming from return lots. So if you're, say, a fashion retailer and you take back a return, whether or not it's defective, most likely it's not going to go back onto the selling floor. Rather, it's going to go to a liquidator, and that liquidator will sell in large pallets, often for thousands of dollars, and it goes through liquidation channels, including eBay. Now, for many small business and independent sellers, that is maybe too much of a risk or an investment to make. So what we're seeing now is a trend in these liquidators breaking down these large pallets into smaller lots. These smaller lots are sometimes 50 units or less and just a few $100s. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, search terms for like reverse logistics, returns, or apparel lots to see what suppliers are out there. In addition, there's $9 billion worth of inventory sitting in 25,000 thrift stores throughout the US. Now, many of you are already sourcing this way, and there's no shortage of supply. For those of you who are interested in getting into this space, get familiar with your local thrift stores. Know what times they're replenishing their merchandise so that you have first access to the freshest supply. Know what discount days they're offering. Many thrift stores offer dollar days. This is a great way to try out your hand at pre-loved apparel at very low risk. But the best way of all to get into this game is to ask friends and family. Most inventory is sitting unlocked in people's closets right now. In fact, there's $420 billion worth of merchandise sitting within people's closets unworn. So just simply ask around. Most people are too busy to go through their closet, to organize, to take things to the thrift store, or maybe are intimidated by selling on eBay. And this is where you can offer a really great service to them. Sometimes you can offer to split the proceeds with them. Many times they'll give you these items for free. We have so many sellers who got this start this way and who continue to build their business. No joke, we have sellers who are making 6-7 figures through this business model. So now that you have this really great supply, we want to make sure that you are putting your products in the best light possible so that it sells. So some advice that I have is to write a description as though you can't take any photos, and to take photos as if you can't write any description. What's really critical is that you utilize all 80 characters in your title. Some descriptions that you can include are to spell out the entire designer brand name. So for example, consumers searching for a YSL bag or dress may often write Yves Saint Laurent. So make sure you're including the full brand designer name. If you're selling a jacket, for example, don't just list it as a jacket, put some more descriptions in there. What kind of jacket is it? Is it a bomber jacket? We saw earlier that's a trending term, so you want to make sure to include that. In addition, consumers often gravitate towards a specific style that they really like, so make sure you include that as well. So for example, Levi's 501 jeans. Often on the inside of a tag, you'll see a SKU number of a garment. Include that as well, because consumers may just gravitate towards an item that they love that's no longer produced, and eBay is the best source to get that. If an item is an elevated material such as leather, silk, or wool, be sure to include that because those are also top search terms. And be sure to take seasonality into account. If you're specializing in selling going out dresses, in the wintertime, you may refer to this as a holiday dress, but that same dress in the springtime, you may refer to it as a prom dress. And I can't stress this enough, include measurements. Size charts and the size label are not enough. We know that an item not fitting is the #1 reason why an apparel item is returned, not just at eBay, but for the industry at large. And we also know that about 1/3 of member-to-member messages pre-transaction are inquiring about a specific measurement, particularly chest and waist. So make sure that you include that so that consumers feel confident buying the item knowing that it will fit. And because we are a global platform and many of you ship internationally, be sure to clarify and translate country sizes. In addition, you want to include as many photos as possible. Use all 24 photos if you can. Include every flaw, particularly for pre-loved merchandise. Consumers are hesitant to purchase if they feel that it might have some sort of defect on it. So be clear about that. If there's a fine detail, such as a really nice button, you want to include that as well. In fact, you may want to take multiple shots at slightly different angles, because sometimes a shadow might be mistaken for a flaw in the garment. And so by shooting different angles, you'll be able to give consumers the confidence that your item is indeed of good quality. Take photos on a solid background like you see in this description here. Mention authenticity elements such as labels, tags, any accompanying accessories, even the original bag that you bought from the retailer if that applies, or the receipt. And we know that we ask for a lot of item specifics as consumers narrow down their search results in this way. But many of them are simply recommended. They are not mandatory. So if they do not apply to you, feel free to leave them blank. No need to put an A. And with that said, I'll pass it back over to Charis to wrap us up.
Wow, Mari, those were some great tips. I can't wait to take all my photos. 24 photos, I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm really excited about that. Now, what do we want to take away from this presentation? There was a lot of information, but what do we really want to take away? A few key takeaways here. Number one, that consumer attitudes toward fashion are changing to more durable and timeless styles. That's this concept of slow fashion. That's becoming the new black or the new thing in fashion, as they say. Pre-loved apparel is on the rise, and eBay continues to be the trusted partner. We continue to be the partner that people prefer and people know about. Number three, the most and best inventory is actually sitting in people's closets. So ask your friends, ask your family, and find those ways to get the best inventory. You also want to optimize your listings by maximizing those keywords and photos. Make sure that you understand all the key points of that product so that you can be at the top of those search results. And finally, don't forget to add measurements, because it's really hard for people to understand when they see a picture online if it'll really fit them, and those measures build that trust and confidence. So with that, we are so thankful to you and to your business and to your partnership. You are what have made all these amazing results that we've had this year. We look forward to your partnership in 2022 and 2023 and beyond. And we thank you for just being a part of the eBay community.